All right, yeah. For everyone who just joined, we're gonna give it like another minute or so before we get started, just in case any more people want to join from the last like webinar that we had. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started now. Um, all right, so essentially, I guess we'll get started with introductions. Parm, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit about like where you went to college, what you're working on now, just a brief introduction before we get into like some like the college stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Parambeer Gill. I'm currently living in Dallas, Texas. I went to Rutgers University for 4 years, and I studied financial economics and human resource management there as a double major. And after I finished up with college, I ended up getting a job at Goldman Sachs in Dallas, Texas, where I currently reside and work at. For a brief overview of what I did in college, I was involved in a number of things like Greek life, orientation, leading, and a bunch of other clubs that I pretty much was just interested in. I just wanted to check out. You'll find that Rutgers has a lot of opportunities for any sort of interest you have, and we'll probably go more in depth on that as Meher continues to ask me some questions. But yeah, that's just a brief overview of me, and I can answer any questions about work and other stuff too if you have that as well. So.
Yeah, by the way, if anyone has any questions like during this whole thing, just put them in the chat or send them in like a DM or anything on like the thing, and we'll make sure to get them answered. So I guess the first thing we can talk about is, I guess, with like the majors that you did at like Rutgers. How did you feel like your experience at Rutgers was? I mean, I know this is probably a while back for you, but like, if you know anything about the transition from high school to Rutgers, or in terms of just like how difficult you felt like your time was, it to get more difficult as the years went on, or does it like sort of get easier to manage? Just general, like how was that transition? How was like your progress throughout the 4 years of college?
Cool. So I'd say overall the transition was honestly kind of difficult in the beginning, and a lot of new students will sort of find that when you come from high school and most of you probably took a lot of APs and you have all those scores as well that you're gonna get transferred over to university. But it really is like a difference in the way both of those classes are taught, and some of you might even be like pursuing a little more difficult majors, and you'll find that there's no sort of like hand holding and there's no sort of help. Like you have to go out and do that yourself, and you have to go out and handle the time management portion yourself. And so like it's a matter of if you have any difficulties or have any questions about any sort of topic in your class, whether it's for like calculus or whether it's for English, make sure you do your due diligence and go and talk to your professor or make study groups with your fellow peers, just so that you can all work together and end up getting a better grade. And that's something that is honestly very hard for a lot of people, because a lot of people I feel in high school kind of are just like used to like doing things on their own and studying on their own. And it's really that aspect of like getting help and like being in a team where you all work together for a grade that is kind of like a little bit of a shock to people. um and yeah, so I think like my first year, that was what I found the most difficult. But tried to like develop more of a schedule and more of a routine, and I found that like apps like Google Calendar and just having something like written in your notes app directly sort of help with that. So what I would do is like I would have like blocks in my Google Calendar where I would talk about like what I'm going to do for the day. So I'd be like, oh, I have like an hour, I'm going to go study. I have an hour, I'm going to go to the gym, you know, an hour for just like hanging out with friends, stuff like that. I found that really helped me balance my social life, my school life, and my mental health all at the same time. And it was super good for just doing well in school in general.
Yeah, definitely. I think calendar is like definitely a pretty big thing because it's just like having something there to like hold you accountable is
Yeah.
a pretty big thing, especially in the first year because with that much freedom, it's kind of you can get overwhelming at times also. I guess sort of going on from that, do you feel like when you're like trying to get help for like your classes, especially like once you get into like the higher level classes, that the TAs and like that sort of like what is it? Is it just like TAs or is it another type of like support system at Rutgers as well?
Yeah, so Rutgers has a lot of like tutoring systems that you can use. I know that a lot of first year kids have to take this class called expository writing, which sounds kind of daunting. And they have like a writing tutoring center where you can actually go out and like talk to students who took the class previously, and they'll help you pretty much learn how the class works and how to do well in it. And if you personally want to do it after you're done with expository writing, I'm pretty sure like the grade threshold was like a B plus. So they really like have access for students who took the class to come in and help other students and all that on top of it. And TAs are also a really, really useful resource because they all also, it's the same situation. They had B pluses or A's in the class. They showed that they understood the material and the professor trusted it enough to be able to teach it. Um, but on top of that, I think that professor office hours are a really underutilized resource. You'll find that a lot of students don't really go out and talk to the professor in general when they have a question. And some professors actually really love to hear from students. And if you're interested in the material in general, like definitely go out and talk to them because it's like the whole planning ahead aspect, right? Like, let's say you want to go to grad school, you're going to need reference letters for that. And who else would you get them from? Your professors. So it's just a matter of like thinking ahead about that type of stuff, thinking ahead about how you want to do on your classes. That all kind of like joins together in going to these places for help.
Yeah, I can definitely like plus one on that one because I know like there like office hour is always packed for a lot of the classes, especially like if you're going to CS intro CS classes, TA hours are packed, but no one really. They all feel like a lot of people feel like intimidated by the professor. I guess like there's like weird power dynamic between them or something. But I feel like going to the professor is definitely a really good way because what other way to learn material than the person who's actually teaching it? And another big thing is like, especially I think for us, like in those intro classes, like let's say expository writing, we have like our equivalent of that. It's like I don't even know what it's called. It's called like it just has a number to it. But that like intro equivalent of that, there's like I don't know hundreds or 200 kids in those classes, especially with like a lot of those intro classes as well. So having that sort of ability to go to office hours and get that sort of one-on-one attention is really helpful. I don't know if the same sort of thing how do you guys were like some like your intro gen eds or something have like hundreds or 200 kids in like one class or something.
Yeah, no, I think I took like an introductory econ course that had like 300, 400 kids. So it's really hard to find one-on-one time in that aspect. And that's where what I mentioned about making study groups comes in handy because you have some students that understand the material a lot better right off the bat than most students, and they'll actually help you like learn the material.
Yeah, there's always gonna be like one kid in your class that like knows everything from the first day. So just find that person and then become friends with them. It really helps a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, that's another thing I want to sort of talk about was I know that Georgia Tech's kind of like a weird example of this because like it's a tech school, so everyone there is in some way or shape like in tech. But do you feel like at Rutgers, when since you have like a lot of different majors, that you still ended up making a lot of your friends within your major, like within like econ or HR, or you made friends just across a wide variety of majors throughout like your time there?
I think not at all, actually. I think that's what's really cool about Rutgers is that you can really just find and talk to people anywhere, and it's like not too hard to like. I mean, I didn't find it too hard to make friends. Some people will find it hard. It's just a matter of how social you are and how introvert or extrovert you are. But one thing that I will say is if you have an interest, Rutgers, I think in like the first week, I don't know when it is now because it was a while ago, but they have something that's called the involvement fair, and the involvement fair has like hundreds of clubs that all come and like line up on College Avenue. That entire street is shut down for the day, and it's just filled with clubs. They have like free food, free drinks. All the students are just walking around talking to people. You can find any sort of interest there, and they'll probably have a club for it. Like freshman year, I joined the ping pong team just because I wanted to, and it was like the most fun experience I've ever had. And like they have like so many other interests. Like you can learn how to do taekwondo, you can learn how to rock climb. They have like an outdoor club where they go and like plan hikes to different places. So I participated in one of those where we went to Vermont, which is pretty awesome. So like really like it's just a matter of like finding what your interest is and like finding a way to like meet people within that interest because you'll also make friends within your major. But since Rutgers is such a massive school, it's important to like have like a more condensed circle and find people within your other interests that you can also talk to.
I think like we have a similar thing where like this whole like green area on our like campus is just covered, like whole perimeter is just covered with like club booths and stuff like that. People go for the free shirts or free food, but it's also nice to like learn
Absolutely.
what you like. Yeah. So I guess like I know you mentioned like you did some like clubs and stuff like that. Like do you at like Rutgers, are there like business specific clubs that like require like a lot of like interviewing and getting? Because I know like some other people like at other colleges have mentioned that some of the career focused clubs require like a lot of like interviewing or whatever to actually get into those. Do you feel like are those like clubs also present at Rutgers, or is there a lot of just like general like interest based clubs on that side of it?
Yeah, so it's both. I know of one is like the Rutgers Consulting Group. You need to go through an interview process in order to be a part of that, and they connect you to different like companies that have like consulting career paths, and you get to learn about that. And I think they do a lot of like case studies and stuff too. I have like sort of a limited knowledge on that because I didn't really participate in it. I have like some friends that did it. And then on top of that, there's also like more like major oriented things like business fraternities and stuff like that that also have an interview process. It's it's a good mix of both, but for more of like the social clubs where you're kind of just like doing an activity, you don't really need to do anything like that. But some major oriented clubs will have an interview process, and it can be kind of complicated. It can be kind of easy. It's just a matter of like gauging and seeing what it's like.
Yeah. Were there any like other like clubs you did like during your time that you felt like were like really fun or really interesting? Just like that you had a really good time like trying to go to those clubs and then like not other people went to them?
Oh yeah, so I'm like really big into photography, and I joined the Rutgers Photography Club, and that was cool because as a beginner, you got to talk to other students who were like really good at what they do, and some of them even had like businesses out of it. So they taught us about how they developed their photography into a business, and they taught us about how they edit photos. They taught us about all that, and the people who organized the club actually like would organize trips to like different states, and so that we can go for like sort of like a photography excursion. One really cool one was going to Washington, DC for the Cherry Blossom Festival. We
Oh,
got to walk around like near the Capitol building and all that, take some pictures. It was a really, really cool experience. And that's a club, honestly, I would recommend too. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely. That sounds pretty fun too. Because I know like we have certain clubs like that. Like they're like sort of like photography is another photography club here. I know I have like a friend in that one, and there's also like some like game development clubs and stuff like that who actually like travel to conferences all around like the area, all around Atlanta, all around just like different states, and like present their stuff there. So I think it's definitely a pretty good idea to join those like social activity based clubs because there's a lot of like niche opportunities that you wouldn't really know besides those.
Yeah.
Um,
And
you can keep going, keep going.
yeah, and also it's like a matter of like finding out like your interests as well. Like you're in college, you know, like if you have like any sort of interest or developing interest in like anything, like if you want to learn how to play an instrument, if you want to do all that, like now is the time for you to like go out and try to participate in all that and do all that because honestly, like when you graduate, you're not going to have the amount of free time you have now when you're an adult. So if you figure these out early, they're going to carry over with you when you go into adulthood and when you go into work, and that's the type of stuff that'll just like be able to like keep you going in terms of whenever you're bored or whenever you're kind of like in like a lazy period.
Yeah, exactly. And the friends you make there too, like you'll have those connections for a while after, especially if like
Hmm.
whatever do anything with it or just like have fun with the people that you met in those clubs. It's definitely going to be a great experience to have, like even after you graduate. Um, I guess like one last thing on that sort of like academic side of things is, do you feel like at like Rutgers you have sort of like a freedom in the way that like you actually like choose your major or like choose the path that you go through your major? Because I know you said you did like two majors, right? Was that sort of process like do you feel like that process was so like facilitated by Rutgers? Like a lot of people do that two major thing, or was something that you had to go on your own and like try a bunch of different classes so you found out you wanted to do those two?
So it's a little bit of both. A lot of majors aren't very credit intensive, so it's important to have something to double it up with or a minor in order for you to have the necessary credits to be able to graduate. So for example, like economics, I did economics and I focused on like the financial certificate for economics. That didn't really have a lot of credits to it. And so adding like human resource management, which was my minor as a major, was helpful for me to like have enough credits to be able to graduate, but also develop like learn about something that I've developed an interest in. And you can also contact your advisors if you have any questions about that type of stuff for your respective schools. They'll be able to help you develop your schedules. But I think also another good resource is older students, students that are like juniors and seniors who've gone through the process of planning out their schedules and finding what majors they want to do. If you find them and ask them for advice, they'll be able to help you plan a good schedule, learn about their favorite professors, learn about how they studied the course. And so, like, utilizing both of those together is really, really important for finding all that information out.
Definitely. Um, I just got one question that someone just sent to me. I guess this is sort of like someone's going to talk about later, but we'll talk about it now. So, in terms of like career fairs and stuff like that at Rutgers, is there like a pretty big career fair, especially like the econ and the business side of things that you can attend? There's a lot of companies that come to that.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of like the business oriented majors have a giant career fair, but there's certain majors that kind of have like their own career fair as well. So human resources management was in the School of Management and Labor Relations, and they had their own career fair at Livingston campus. But there's also like the mega fair where there's like hundreds of companies that come and you could talk to them, do the little elevator pitch, hand them your resume, like make some connections. And I know that RBS does a career fair at one of the hotels in New Brunswick, and a lot of students go to that, and that's like a whole like suit and tie event where you go and you meet a lot of people from all these different companies. Rutgers has pretty good relationships with a lot of like pretty top tier firms. I know that Deloitte has a big presence there. KPMG has a big presence there. Goldman is developing a good presence there. Um, a lot of these firms do tend to hire out of Rutgers. It's a good school for exposure to like working in New York City as well because you're a train station away. So a lot of students have their internships there. They still live on campus. They take the train from there to there. Um, but yeah, no, there's a lot of career fairs where you can meet a lot of professionals.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I guess this is sort of like transitioning away from the academic side of things. We can start talking about like the campuses and the dorms and the food and stuff like that. I guess the
Yeah,
first thing to sort of talk about, especially with Rutgers itself, is since there's like a lot of different campuses. What do you like? Which campus were you on, and what do you think was sort of like the sort of benefits, cons, pros, cons of like the different campuses that are at Rutgers?
gotcha. Okay, so as like a brief overview, there's like four or five there's five, but like four campuses at Rutgers. So you have Cook Douglas, which is two campuses, but everybody considers them one. Then you have Bush, Livingston, and College Avenue. So Livingston is primarily like the business focused campus. Bush is focused more on like the sciences and engineering and all that, and then College Ave is more on the arts. Cook Douglas is more of like agricultural sciences, but they also do have Douglas campus, which is like a women's campus. So if you're interested in that, you can also go check that out. They send students newsletters about the Douglas College all the time. It's a good thing to learn about. And so I lived for the first 2 years of college on Bush campus. So I had a dorm my first year and a suite my second year. Dorm is just one roommate, suite is five roommates. So you have like six people all like jam packed in one room, which was honestly pretty interesting. And then my third and fourth years, I lived on College Avenue. And so I think like when I dormed at first, it was just because I didn't understand the area that well and I wanted to live on campus. And since I started out my career as a computer science major, I thought that Bush campus would be a good campus to live on so that I had like access to all of my classes. And that was really helpful because I was like a 5 minute walk away. So I had really no stress there. And all the professors that I wanted to talk to were there as well. Once I sort of like developed more of my social circle and made more friends in the school, they got together and they're like, hey, like, let's get a house together. We can rent it on College Avenue. So that's exactly what we did. I lived like a 5 minute walk away from the bus stop. And that was a really fun experience as well. So I think it's just a matter of like figuring out what you want to do in the beginning. I think like you probably won't be able to rent a place your first year unless like you and your parents have like a previous discussion about that. So you'll most likely end up dorming. But after you dorm for the first year, you have a lot of access to all the other places to live. So there's like a bunch of apartments on College Ave that are for student living, Livingston for student living, and all that. And I don't know about like Georgia Tech, but Rutgers uses what's called a lottery system. And the lottery system has seniority points. So after you're a freshman, sophomores get a certain number of seniority points in order for them to join the lottery and live in a certain area. And then your lottery number is like randomized. And the lower the better for that. So remember that if you're trying to look out for something, because if you get a really high number, you will probably be unlucky, and that's really sad to say.
Yeah, I think we do a similar thing, like in terms of like seniority and everything like that. Oh, I kind of got screwed over by the lottery, so I got stuck in a pretty trashy dorm. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's probably what happens.
it always happens like that. You always get unlucky. I think I had like a number in like the 2000s one year, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna find a good place to live.
At that point, that's when you go for the apartment. You're just like, no, I'm not gonna deal with it.
Exactly.
I guess like more on that sort of dorm thing. How was the sort of food at Rutgers? Is it like the food like split between campuses? Like one campus has good food, one campus doesn't, or is it sort of like all equally bad or good?
All right, so to be perfectly candid, so every campus has their own dining hall, and like every student has their own personal rating system for each dining hall. So I'm going to give you mine. I think that Livingston campus has the best food, hands down. They have like a teriyaki station where they make you teriyaki chicken like fresh, and it was the best thing ever. You can mix like multiple sauces. Oh my god, it was so good. They also have a burger bar, which is like, freshman 15, like that definitely did a number on me. After that is Cook Douglas. Cook Douglas is also a really cool campus to eat at. They have like a smoothie bar in their thing, omelet station, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good place to eat at. And also the scenery is nice because you're like near the nature. You get to see all the trees. Sometimes you can sit outside. It's a cool spot. After that is Bush campus, and then last is Brower. Brower, the food is okay, but I think like you just go there to like talk to your friends and just hang out. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot say the same about Georgia Tech. It is god awful food, but hopefully they fix it. They say they're fixing it this year. I feel like they said that the year before, but
They
we'll
always
see.
say they're gonna fix it. Yeah.
They always say it. They never do. Usually it ends up getting worse, but that's just how it is. Yeah. All right, something else. Oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say next. So in terms of like actually getting around campus and stuff like that, I know like the bus system's pretty big since the campuses are often like really spread apart. So do you feel like people often like use the buses, or do they eventually just get their own car and sort of like make their way around? Because I know like walking like a viable option then, or is still like just buses and cars?
Walking is not that viable of an option. So let's say you're gonna go from like Livingston to Cook Douglas. That's like the top edge of the campus all the way to the bottom. That's gonna be like an hour walk.
Hmm.
So a lot of students, if they don't feel like taking the bus or they don't want to have a car, they get bikes and they bike from campus to campus. I had a friend that did that all 4 years, and his cardio game was on point. I'm not gonna lie. But he found it really easy for him to get to these places. He just had a bike lock, put it on there. In the winter time, he just took the buses, so it was a really easy way for him to get around. And also, the buses have their own bike locks on top of them, or sorry, like in front of them. So if you want to ride the bus and you have your bike on you, you can just put it on the bike lock, and then you can just ride the bus and then take it that way. I wouldn't really recommend having a car, because you have to get parking permits and you kind of get ticketed really quickly at Rutgers, and those things like really tend to stack up quickly. I've known people that were had like parking debt in like the hundreds because they brought their cars everywhere and they parked in the lots when they weren't supposed to. Um, and like the parking department is very, very quick to like catch a car that's not supposed to be there. So you got to be careful with that. Um, the buses are honestly, like, not that bad. They do have delays from time to time, but it's, like, a really, like, easy way to get around. Obviously, if you're gonna go during rush hour, like 5 o'clock, all those time periods, it's gonna be a little hard to get around because you're gonna be right on 18 during rush hour traffic. So there's delays there. It's just a matter of planning ahead, right? So, if I lived on Bush and I had a class on College Avenue, I always left, like, 45 minutes early because, I mean, it's a really nice place to walk too, so you just have your headphones in, you're just hanging out, but It's important to like get to your class early so that you're not super delayed. You don't want to be like 20, 30 minutes late because of traffic and all that. Yeah, so just plan ahead. The buses really aren't that bad. Just have your headphones in. You can sit down and chill, read a book, something like that. If it's like going to be super packed, obviously you probably won't be able to do that, but it's like a 5 minute ride. It really won't be that bad for that long. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, like, since it's like New Jersey, obviously, this is it doesn't get pretty bad in the winter with like the snow and everything trying to move your way around campus.
Yeah, it does get pretty bad. I when I was a freshman, I lived on like a hill for my dorm, and we had like an ice storm once, so I had to like navigate that while I was walking up a hill, just getting hit in the
Oof.
face with like hail and stuff. Um, the weather gets kind of annoying. They'll have delayed classes. Sometimes they won't even have classes. Now they have the opportunity to give you your classes online. So it's just a matter of that. I will say, make sure you pack a nice pair of boots. Does get a little slippery. I did fall on a bus once. That was not fun. Fell right into a puddle. Don't want to see that happen to you guys. So think about these things.
Yeah. Oh, someone just sent. Oh, I guess like you mentioned that you were part of like Greek life a little earlier. Do you want to talk a little bit more like how your experience was with that? Like, do you feel like that was like a pretty positive experience? You had a fun time with that?
Yeah, so honestly, I think it was a really, really beneficial experience for me because I came into school a little introverted and I was the type of person that sort of wanted to step out of my shell and experience new things and meet new people. And
Mhm.
so, in terms of like the social aspect, I really don't regret it one bit. I met some of my closest friends there, and we still talk to this day. We hang out whenever I'm in New Jersey and all that. And you also get to meet people who are in similar majors to you. You guys take classes together, then you have your study group right there. You do your schoolwork together and all that. And there's a lot of like cool opportunities where one thing that I really liked about it was each like Greek life has their own like sport league. So instead of intramurals, it's something called Killer, where you can play different sports for your fraternity or sororities team, right? So
Mhm.
like I played on the basketball team and that was a lot of fun. They had like flag football, they had volleyball, they had soccer, they had all that stuff. So like you got to like play with your friends and do that there. Um, and also like you get access to the alumni network as well, where you can meet a lot of professionals that work in Wall Street, all these different places, and you get to talk to them and connect with them. So like a lot of these places have like their literally their own LinkedIn pages for alumni networks that are massive, like 8,000, 9,000 members, something like that. Like it's a really good way to make some professional connections as well too.
Yeah, that definitely sounds really nice. I know like Georgia Tech is a big like a Greek life thing too. I think almost a third of campus or something is on Greek life. So it's like it's a pretty big thing here. Is it sort of like is it a big thing at Rutgers or is it just sort of like how many people do you think like percentage wise of the campus is in Greek life some way or the other?
So when I was there, it was pretty big. I don't really know what it's like now. Honestly, I think it might have dropped down a little bit. But when I was
Mhm.
there, it was a really big part of the experience. College Ave is just filled with like all the houses for fraternities and sororities, and they're always doing like events there. Uh, Sometimes they'll do pretty cool events. Like one time we did like a free throw event where you like shot a free throw. If you made it in, you put your name into a raffle to win like a TV. Some other places will do like dunk tanks or they'll do like pie someone in the face, like stuff like that. They have a lot of fundraisers around campus. They also like fundraise for something called Dance Marathon, which is like a giant like 24-hour dance-a-thon that Rutgers has. It's a number of things that you like participate in and learn about from the school.
Mhm. I guess like going off of that, that's really like dance-a-thon thing. Like, what are sort of some fun things that Rutgers itself did, or that you did, like yeah, Rutgers itself like put on throughout your 4 years that you felt like traditions or anything like that that you feel like people should know about before they go to campus.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Alright, so, one thing that they really emphasized when I was working orientation was creating something that's called a Rucket list. A Rucket list is like your Rutgers bucket list, like, it's like things you wanna do before you graduate from Rutgers. And so they have a lot of cool things that, like, I didn't get to participate in, and I wish I participated in. One thing that they do is, like, this, like, polar plunge type thing, where you, like, high dive off the highest point at the Bush Gym where the swim team, like, practices, and you get a free T-shirt for participating in that. So that was really cool. And then they also do a number of other things. Like we have Rutgers Day, which is like a giant like fair that Rutgers throws on every campus, and each campus has like their own specific like I guess like genre of things that they do. Like Cook Douglas had like a medieval fair at the same time, and they also had like a bunch of bounce houses and stuff. So like, we were like we were like bouncing around with a bunch of little kids just like hanging out. And then like College Ave had a number of like food options there. They had like some like arts and crafts stuff. And Bush had some like STEM oriented things. Like it was really cool. They had I think they had like a demo where it was like a Boston Dynamics robot that was there, and like you got to see that in action. Like it was pretty sick. Um and they also have like student volunteers, so you can participate in that. You get a free t-shirt, really cool.
T-shirts.
And you get to like hang out, talk to different people that are from the area, just meet new students that are going to be coming as well. Um, Another event that's really cool is Hot Dog Day. You would think that it would be like a really boring thing. It's like what, like a day oriented to hot dogs, but that is like one of the busiest events at Rutgers. When I was there last, they literally had a zip line that students could get on and like go from one point to another. It was like I was like, why? Like, what is? It's a hot dog. Like what? And they also had like vegan options for hot dogs too. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan and you can't eat meat, like you can get those as well. Pork, chicken, all that. Like they had so many options there. Um, I'm trying to think. There's a lot. There's honestly a lot. So for all my like, oh, you can also participate in a holy festival there. They do that on Livingston campus. That was also really fun. Anybody can do it too. I'd really recommend it. Like, just don't paint at each other. It's a good time. And then they have like some other random events like silent disco. You can do stuff like that. Like you'll see like like newsletters everywhere where you can just join and participate in something. And I would really recommend it. Just find something that you think is cool. Just do it. Like you'll have a lot of fun. You'll meet people too at the same time.
Yeah, I would say like definitely on that one. Doing the college events is like a really big thing. People think they're like kind of lame sometimes, but they're actually pretty fun if you actually take the time to go to them. I know like we have a few that like actually we got to go to like the aquarium. There's like they rent out the entire aquarium, but they rent out the entirety of Six Flags just for GT students, and you got to go there and just do whatever you want there. It's pretty fun. A lot of those like festivals and types of things on campus is just it's a great time. Like even if you might think like oh it's just gonna be pretty lame, it's definitely really fun. It's a lot more fun, especially if you take the time to like put into that fun.
Yeah, it's a really good time. Oh, and also on top of that, there's like a lot of like former actors that went to Rutgers and they come and like do talks sometimes. Like I don't know if you guys know Bucky Barnes. He went to Rutgers. He did like a conversation at Rutgers. Um, oh my God, what was his name? I'm forgetting. Luke Cage, the actor who plays Luke Cage in the series on Netflix. He also went to Rutgers. He came and did a conversation there. And then they also had like a bunch of like other like random YouTubers come in and like talk about some stuff like binging with Babish. He was a big guy that was there. I'm a huge fan of him, so I definitely wanted to
Yeah,
see that. So yeah, like it's like they do a lot of stuff for students, and honestly, people don't really go. Like definitely go and check that out. Oh, I can answer that real quick. Which airport is closer, and how is the commute to the airport? So Newark Airport is the closest. Newark from New Brunswick, I think is about like 35, 40 minutes. It's really not that bad. And you can also take the train there. So they have NJ Transit. New Brunswick will go right to the Newark Liberty Airport stop.
oh, yeah. I was actually gonna ask that one a little bit. I guess someone beat me to that one. Um,
Sorry, I just saw it.
no, that's all good. Uh, what's another one? Oh, I guess this is sort of like a general thing I ask everyone. So, in terms of like things to do outside of campus, like in like New Brunswick or whatever, like the campuses are, like what are sort of some fun things that you feel like you did over like your 4 years there? Is that just outside of campus, just to have fun, like with your friends, with your frat, or anything like that?
Yeah, so when I turned 21, obviously we went and hung out at like the bars and stuff. We had some fun there. One thing me and my friends participated in was at this one bar called Olive Branch. We did trivia Wednesdays every Wednesday, so we got to do that. That was a lot of fun. Um, on top of that, Rutgers has a really big like underground music scene. You can find out more information about that, but you can go like to like basement shows where you like hear like different bands play, and it's like all kinds of genres. I had a really weird experience where like one band like started out playing like just feedback noise, and I was there with like a bunch of friends, and we were all just like staring at each other like, "Where are we?" We ended up walking out early. It was kind of a waste of $5, but that was an experience. And then on top of that, you are a train ride away from New York City. If you see anything that you want to do in New York, you have a train station right there. If you have the money, go and do it. You can also get discounted bus tickets. I'm not sure how to do that anymore. I know that you were able to go to the SAC stop. You'll learn more about that at the school, and they would have like an area where you can purchase those. But you can get discounted tickets. You can also get train tickets. You can do all that and go and experience the city as well. And I'd really highly recommend that because as a student, like having an access to like such a massive area to just go and check out is like huge, and you'll be living right on campus. Like it's really easy to get to.
Yeah, especially like at like Atlanta, you have like people playing in the Bends all the time. It's like if you ever have like go to college that's in a city, whether it's like Rutgers or anything else, take the time to go to the city to go to the events. It's like you're not gonna have that much time to do them afterwards, so you might as well just do them while you're in college.
Yeah, and then also on top of that, I had like a list of like every restaurant I wanted to try on Easton Avenue, which is like right in front, like it's like the street away from College Avenue. And so me and my friends like made it a mission to go and try every restaurant on that street. And I think I'm missing like two or three. So that was something that I really wanted to accomplish. I didn't get to do it. Maybe I'll go back and do it. Who knows? And then on top of that, there's also George Street, which is another part of like the College Ave area. They have like a comedy club there that you can go and check out. They have a number of really good restaurants there. And if you're into photography and film photography, they have a photography store there where you can go and get pictures developed. You can do all that. It's a lot of good options that you are able to access as a student.
Yeah. Um, I thought I just saw a question, but someone deleted it. Oh, it's like let me see if I can find it. Oh, I guess this is something we sort of talked about before. They're asking about like food near campus. I don't know if there's you already kind of mentioned that. Is there any other like cool food areas you feel like people should know about while they're like going to Rutgers just to eat out?
Yeah. So the number one place that you'll probably learn about is called Stuff Your Face. Stuff Your Face has been on TV. Stuff Your Face has like been everywhere. It's like super popular. And what they do is they make like strombolis. So they have like different types of strombolis you can get. Like you can get like a Big Mac stromboli. You can get like a pizza stromboli. You can do stuff like that. That place is really good. I really like this other place called Hansel and Griddle. Hansel and Griddle is like the perfect college meal. Like you're studying super late, you need something quick. That place closes at like 4 a.m. You can go and get these things called crisps that are like quesadillas, but they have like different flavors. So there's like a buffalo chicken one, there's like a barbecue chicken one. And I swear to God, that was like my life source for 4 years. Like that was the best. Um, Rutgers has a lot of good pizza places around town, and you will have arguments and debates with people about which one is the best for your entire 4 years. My personal favorite is Daniel's. Other people don't agree with that. It's fine. You know, it's my favorite. And then trying to think of what else is really good. I really liked Fritz's. Fritz's is kind of like this like mac and cheese chicken tender type place. The food there is really awesome, and they have really good like coffee and really good like teas and stuff too. So if you're really into that type of stuff, you can also go and enjoy that there. Um, there's a bunch more. If I think of them, I'll say it again. Obviously, there's Taqueria. Might have had that if you're from the Princeton area as well. That's good too. Yeah,
Yeah, I think like for us for the 4 a.m. like if we ever like have a group project or a late night test or anything like that we have Waffle House, which is kind of
yeah.
bummy. There's always fights going on there, but like it's Waffle House. It's open like almost 24/7. It's great.
Waffle House is so good.
So good. I don't know what they put in the food, but it's good.
I don't think I want to know.
Yeah, I don't think I want to know either. Um, yeah, that was just about all the questions that I had and all the questions that I got. If anyone else has any questions, just send them now, and we'll see if we can answer them. But that was just about it. See if anyone has any other questions. If not, yeah, I think that is all the questions that we had. Thank you for coming. Thank you like for like talking about it, Rutgers, talking about everything like that. It's a great time. Do you want to like if people want to like reach out to you for anything more, like do you have like want to put an email or LinkedIn or anything in the chat for them to reach out to?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a good time. My email is, I'm gonna type it in here, and then my LinkedIn. Hold on, I gotta find the link for it.
And also also tomorrow, if anyone's coming to like the alumni panel or what, like this a whole web tips thing that we're doing, we're not gonna have alumni. We're just gonna be talking a little bit about HS Navigator itself and some of the things that the website does. So if you guys want to come tomorrow for that.
Okay, so just for LinkedIn, just look up my name because I can't access the
Yeah,
link right now. That's the name right there. If you want to connect with me, I will. I'd love to talk to anybody. So yeah,
thank you so much. And
yeah,
I
no
think we'll
problem.
find it here. No, I don't see any more questions. So thank you for coming here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, everyone.